ההתחברות שלך.
Hi everyone.
Hello everybody.
So we're starting off with a live session in Sound of Anarchy.
Yeah, awesome.
I call this channel Sound of Anarchy because I'm anarchist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I didn't think to start off with that, but I think Alon is an anarchist too. We both identify like this, right?
Yeah, it took me a while to get to this position and to be able to define myself as an anarchist, but it's been a few years now, yes.
Yeah. For me, it means basically rejection of violence in any sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you follow that violence is illegitimate and the initiation of violence is illegitimate, you cannot accept violence also when it comes by the hands of authority. And that usually we use authority to hide violence and to try to legitimate violence. And anarchist is a person who identifies that and don't want to acknowledge normalized violence and he continue consistently to point out violence where it occurs. That's my take on that. But maybe we will do a special episode and live about that. Hi everyone. Hi from London. Nice. It's always kind of excites me to see that there are people who want to hear what we have to say.
Yes, all around the world. In all different languages.
And it just because I'm not like an expert on anything. I'm just a person who cares about things.
Yeah, I found myself thinking, I think it was earlier today even, that like, what do? I just think a lot about shit.
Yeah.
I just think a lot, and I think like I try to do it in an honest way. I try to do it to be honest with myself and outwardly as well, and then I get to this place where I have conclusions, and I think it's a good idea to share our conclusions with other people and continue this discussion, because if we just think and we can have amazing and interesting thoughts, but if they're not out there, then why are we even doing it?
Yeah. And I feel like we're both like to think, but we also have this quality that we care and we want to make it's kind of emotional, personal, intimate involvement of the reality that we think about. It's not just things that we like to speculate for our intellectual amusement. And
yes, if it were only intellectual amusement, it would not be interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So someone is saying, for me, that's one of the attractive points, is exactly that you are no experts, just normal people living there and sharing your thoughts and experiences. I don't know if you're normal.
Yeah.
Like if we were normal, we would have completely different opinions.
Or maybe we're the only normal, maybe that's what we in an insane society, I don't know.
Yeah, but this word normal, what does this word even mean? Normal.
Yeah.
Normal means that you're similar to others, and I don't know, I don't feel very normal. And also someone is saying, I'm interested as you guys live amid all this madness. Yeah. And we wanted to kind of start off from that, right?
Yeah.
That it's difficult.
It's difficult. We both feel like we have to always kind of fight enormous force that is dragging us down.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, sometimes I think, why is it so hard to speak up here? Why, when I was outside Israel, occupied Palestine, it was easier for me to protest, to sing, to feel free, because it's not that anyone threatens me here directly. Like there is a threat that is like flying about.
Yeah, it's like around in the air.
And for you, it is actual, like
yeah.
But it's like there is this strange force that makes you like that just normalizes. I think if Israelis would be asked, let's say many Israelis are going to be asked in the future by their kids, their grandparents,
how did you support this?
How did you support? What
like
did you
Germans
do?
are being asked, were being asked in the last few decades, right?
Yeah. And I don't think they will have a good answer. They would just be like, I don't know, it's just like everyone ignored it, and it was easier to do it.
Yes.
It's not that it was like, at least Germans could have say it was, I could have get shot.
Yes.
And people look at Germans and say, still you were supposed to,
Yeah.
people. And here even people cannot even say that.
Yeah.
And most of them it just kind of, I don't know, normalization. I don't know how to call this force that drags you down to be silent, to be how do you say, complicit, to be, and yeah, just like, so it's this force, I feel it's also is influencing me, and I for a long time, like I did go to a demonstration on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good. I was standing with two signs, like one says like the genocide continues with a, how do you say,
the cover.
With a cover of a ceasefire, and the other side is like, this is the face of Zionism.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see people's reaction, but it's hard. I don't know.
I think that's exactly like this force that you talk about is exactly the force of normalcy.
Yeah.
I think there's like two things happening at the same time, and I think it's very important if you want to be an anarchist, if we want to actually achieve progress in this direction of anarchism, we must understand how these things are enforced, how hierarchies are enforced, and how this system operates. And one part of it is that there is a hierarchy, and there are people higher on this hierarchy and lower on this hierarchy, and the ones higher on this hierarchy gain something, okay? And they want to preserve their power in the hierarchy.
Yeah, if just everyone would suffer on the same level, like they would collaborate to break down the system.
Yes. And this is one part of it, and the other part of it is the part that normalizes this situation. And the normalization of this situation occurs all around you. Okay, it's a societal phenomenon, and I think this is when you're surrounded by people who all, first of all, disagree with you completely.
Yeah.
Think that you are crazy for holding, like, even if I said 1% of my opinions, of my actual opinions, the vast majority of people living around me would think that I am completely insane.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is, I'm not exaggerating, right? I'm not exaggerating. Our opinions are so far away from the mainstream opinions here that really even sharing slightly what we think is completely indigestible for everyone around, everyone basically. And so this is one part of it, and the other part of it is that they will be violent towards you. Okay, so not necessarily physically violent, probably not physically violent towards us in like normal situations, but they will be emotionally violent towards you. There will be sanctions. It hurts you to believe the kind of things that Elik and I believe, and to say the kind of things that Elik and I say in this situation. Okay, and we wanted to start by reading you this post, right? Yeah. You want to read this post? So there's this Israeli media guy. His name is Avri Gilad. Yeah. And maybe we can give some background about this guy. And he posted something on his Facebook profile, Facebook page a few days ago, which is very revealing, I think.
Yeah.
So you want to tell a little bit about who this Avri Gilad guy is?
Because I don't watch so much Israeli TV, I don't know exactly, but he's very he kind of guy that in Israeli television for years, right?
Yeah, for decades, for like 40 years now.
Yeah, it's part of many Israelis' life,
Mhm.
and he represents something. I don't know, like being something that many Israelis like. He's kind of a bit entertainer.
Yes,
He's somehow like a middle class. I don't know. What would you say
a middle
about?
class hero, I think. Yes,
Yeah, middle
yes.
class. Yeah.
So I think so. We were reading up on him a little bit on Wikipedia before we went live,
Hmm.
and this guy started his career on the military radio station. It's like so. This guy, like, he comes from an Ashkenazi family, leftist Zionist, liberal Zionist family, and so he went to the army, and he was, talented with like rhetoric and performance and showmanship. So he went to. This is very difficult to get accepted to this position of hosting shows on the official military radio station, which is maybe people don't know the Galei Tzahal, the waves of the IDF, like sound waves, like radio waves of the IDF, is
Yeah.
the most popular radio station in Israel.
Yeah.
Right? The most popular, or one of the top three, certainly.
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful media,
Yeah.
channels
And
that
it's
there are.
from the army. It's crazy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's things that you're like. It's part of the things that are being normalized.
Yeah,
That only
normalized,
when
yes.
you look outside, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Why is the main radio station is like the army station?
Mhm.
Like, just and even Israelis, if they look and you will tell them that it happens in other country, they would think it's weird, right?
Mhm.
If you tell them, look, that's the way it happens in Egypt. I don't know if it happens. I guess not, but
Yeah, I think not.
I don't know. They will like, it's because they're so
Militaristic.
It's a military dictatorship or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's what they would think.
But our army is different.
Yes.
Our army, it's our children. It's like there's a lot of kind of romantic.
Romanticizing of the Israeli army. Yes, and
Yeah.
the way that it's amazing how Israelis just can look at the same thing in two different contexts and have completely different thoughts about it. If something happens in Israel and is done by Israelis, it's one thing. If something happens anywhere else, it's another thing. And if it happens in Palestine or it's done by Palestinians, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, but they would analyze it with completely different attitudes.
If it's crime done by Palestinian, it deserve the destruction of the whole village. I don't know if one Palestinian did something, right? Like everyone around him need to be punished. But if it's Israeli did something, like he can go away with it and have
it's a esef shoteh. How do you say, like
and it doesn't
like a solitary actor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this guy, Avri Gilad, so he started his career in this radio station, and the moment that you are a host on Galei Tzahal, the military radio station, you have it made. You're done. You can do whatever you want because a lot of people get to know you. You become popular. You have all the credentials, and then he became a media personality, and he used to be on the left. He had this air of intellectuality, of like being articulate, being deep, being sophisticated, being cultured, blah 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 blah. He puts on this air, but I must tell you that I've been following this guy for like 10-15 years. And I see all the different scandals that he has, and every time I see that under the guise of of being a caring person, of being someone who is moral or cares about morality, he's just a racist shit.
Yeah,
like basically that's
and
all
it's
he is.
already a few years that he kind of did a shift to the right and become like a proud fascist.
Yes.
So I won't say that what we're about to read is like something typical of the leftists who after October 7. But I think he got a permission to become even more racist and more like many Israelis felt.
Yeah. So maybe let's read the post and then
I will read and we can read some comments also.
Yeah.
Let's see if he got backlash on this or not. We will see.
Yeah.
Okay, it's called Emotions. Gazan guy stands on the ruins of what used to be his home, his neighborhood, his cities, his life, and screaming, "Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to live? Where is my house?" So-called difficult picture to see. But for me, in the depth of my heart, nothing moves.
Yeah.
A Gazan kid looking in the ruins of his house, his teddy bear. A very touching video. But first of all, I assume it was directed by the Hamas media cinema, I don't know.
How does he call it in Hebrew?
בוים על ידי מחלקת קולנוע של חמאס.
The cinema division.
The cinema division.
Hamas's cinema division. It was directed by Hamas's cinema division. Mm-hmm. It sounds crazy to say these words, but the reason that he's saying these words is because it's very common to say these words. Like Israelis, to them it's like a thing. The Hamas cinema division is like a thing that actually exists, and it's responsible for all the images that you see from Gaza. It's they were directed by the Hamas cinema division.
Yeah, every crying child, or like we saw like thousands of videos. They were all directed by Hamas, and deep inside, it's bullshit. I don't believe. Okay,
I don't know if he knows. I don't know. I think he convinced himself of this. Okay. But this is a discussion, right?
Second, I'm almost sure that he didn't have a teddy bear because his fucked up dad used the toys box to hide rockets.
Wow.
And except from that, I don't care about children in Gaza because I heard what they did when they invaded our villages and kibbutzim. I know for sure firsthand about a story about a Gazan kid who murdered babies in the kibbutz. He
knows firsthand. I think this is, let's repeat this, because I think that this is very revealing of how the Zionist mind works. He immediately gives you a list of excuses, and all these excuses, he didn't make them up, okay? It's not something that he had to invent. It's something that was ready-made. It's floating around in the zeitgeist, okay? In Zionist society, there's a list of excuses. There's like 25 of them, and if you want 4, you will pick the 4 that you like, and you will put them in your text, and you will put them in your mind, and you will use them. So one excuse is they're all liars. Everything that they're saying is false. All the images that I'm seeing are completely false. And then if you wonder, how can Israelis still deny what is going on in Gaza? They have a ready-made tool to deny it. The Hamas's cinema division is responsible for everything that they're seeing. And maybe they believe that it's all like that. Maybe they believe that it's mostly like that. But they see something, and they can tell themselves, if the thing that they are seeing is too difficult, they can just tell themselves, this is a lie, because they're all liars, and that's it. And then they don't have to think about it.
But he's contradicting himself, because he says, like, it's not true, it's directed by Hamas. But if it was true, I don't care, it's always...
He's not even bothering to say if it were true. He's saying, and this is something that this is a joke between me and my friends for a long time now. That the most Zionist thing to say is, this didn't happen, and also it's good that it happened.
Yeah.
Because like they can contradict themselves in the same thought, and they don't even notice, or they don't want to notice, or they don't acknowledge it. I don't know what's going on in their mind, but he's saying simultaneously, this didn't happen, the kid doesn't exist, and also the father of the kid that doesn't exist is a terrorist and a criminal and so forth. So they're liars, and also they're responsible for what happened to them. And also, what's the third thing that he says? Oh, and then he says, this kid is also a criminal. I don't care, because this kid is the same as other kids in Gaza who I know personally that kids in Gaza did this and this and this, and this is a complete lie. Like, obviously.
It's lies that babies were murdered in the kibbutz. I don't know, maybe there was one who got shot, I don't know, but like saying that there was murdering of babies that done by children, I don't know.
But this is the thing. It's like several levels of lie, because the first lie is that so many babies were murdered, blah blah blah.
The beheaded babies stories.
Yes. And then he adds another lie because he needs it. Okay, he needs another lie because this is a child that is being, that is suffering violence. So he needs to invent that it was specifically children, Palestinian children, who killed the baby in the kibbutzes.
Yeah.
He needs to invent this. This is like another level of lying, and they keep adding more and more and more levels of lies on everything. Okay, continue.
Okay. So I did a scan on my emotional system, and the results is clear. I have no anymore universal feelings of compassion, a humanitarian compassion. I don't buy anymore the sayings that I used to sign on them happily, that all humans have equal rights, that everyone have rights from birth. I'm sorry, my emotions of compassion are today directed only towards the people who don't want to kill me. Yeah.
So it needs to be emphasized that this guy didn't ever really have emotions of compassion. He didn't really believe in universal values of justice. Not really.
We heard so many people say it, right? Like, I used to have these values, but I don't have them anymore.
Yes.
And I think if you give the thing with real values, that you cannot give them up so easily, right?
Yes.
Like if it's my dad used to, when I was a kid, Groucho Marx, like this
Groucho Marx, yes.
He had the joke that he says, like, these are my values. You don't like them? I have other ones.
Yes.
Yes. So this is kind of like, if you did have your values stands in test exactly in this moment where somebody hurts you and you still don't go and say, okay, now I throw all my values to the trash and I take revenge in people who also didn't do it. And like, this is exactly
it means that it's not values.
It's not values.
It's not values.
Yeah.
I don't know what you had.
Yeah.
But you didn't have values. It's not compassion. Compassion is not something that you can take away.
Yeah.
Right? I used to have compassion, but I don't anymore. So you had another feeling. I don't know what the name of the other feeling is, but you didn't have compassion.
Because, like, I think about it, let's take a basic principle of morality, right? Like, we entitled to defend ourselves, but we're not entitled to kill other people who are not involved. I think it's very basic, common, and it's very easy to believe in it when you're not being attacked, right?
Yes.
Like, so, and then the moment
it's very easy to pretend
that you believe in it when you're fine, but then when you're attacked and you say, okay, now I want to revenge everybody, it means you never ever believed in it. Like, it just shows that when the moment your values come to a test, you don't believe in them anymore. And so many Israelis like to say, we have values. We had the moment 7th of October happened, they all become genocidal. I don't want to say all, but so many of them. So,
yes.
So it means that it's a society that something is very problematic in the core.
Yes, yes. And there's another issue here that is being revealed. So he's saying, I don't have these values anymore. But what is he accusing of Palestinians? Wrongfully, but what is he accusing
of not having values?
Of not having values.
Yeah.
Or of having, bad values. And then he's like, and now I have bad values, but it will not prevent him. trust me, it will not prevent him from pretending that he is still superior. You
Yeah.
know, and
Right.
so the number of internal contradictions in one Zionist sentence is infinite. Like if you analyze only one sentence uttered by a Zionist, you will find so many contradictions that you can go on for days.
Yeah, and it's kind of, yeah, I would like to say to him, okay, so you're saying they're so subhuman, but now you're basically saying you're behaving exactly the same way, right? If they're it's like what you said, like he's saying they're bad because they don't distinguish between people, and yeah, but
Yeah. That's the point. The point is that there is a basic assumption. We are the good guys, they are the bad guys. And if you see like Western cinema, okay, watch any mainstream movie these days, or even in the last few decades, there's always the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys have to save the world from the bad guys. This is the fundamental plot of the vast majority of films in Hollywood. Okay.
yeah,
And this is the thing. It reinforces this approach that there's us, and us equals good, and there's them, and them equals bad, and therefore we, the good guys, can do anything we want to them, the bad guys, and it doesn't make us into the bad guys.
yeah,
The question of whether someone is the good guys or the bad guys does not depend on what they do, or why they do it, or how they do it. It just depends on who they are.
yeah.
The Americans are the good guys. That's it. Period.
And that's why it's important to read stuff like we're going to read, because she explains that it's not about good or bad, it's about power and balance, right? We will get to it, and that's part of it, like that I want to say, okay, we can go and say this guy is horrible and evil, but I think the reason he writes that, it's because he can. It's because of his position of superiority, that he can advocate this kind of stuff and look on people who just like suffered the genocide and write publicly in the society that committed genocide that he doesn't care. And we will see. I see some backlash that it got on it, but a lot of support also.
Yes,
and
the vast majority is support.
And like and you in this society, you have to suffer persecution because you opposed it, and somebody can write something like this and suffer no consequences.
Yeah, zero consequences.
Zero consequences.
And actually, we say zero consequences. No. It's not. He gains from it.
Yeah.
The fact. Okay, so let me just say very clearly that I think that Avri Gilad, this guy, is a narcissist. Okay, he likes attention. He likes to be the center of everything. He likes it when people give him, adoration and so forth and so on. And I think that this is the main motivator of this guy. It always has been, and it always will be. Okay, he is a media personality. Okay, this is what he is. And therefore, he will say anything that will get him this adoration, this positive attention, and so forth and so on. And he's also quite rich because of this. He's very well-to-do financially, and it's because of his career that he is, a very popular person. And the fact that he's saying this, I think it doesn't hurt him; it helps him in the current situation, in current Israeli Zionist society. Saying these things is popular. It helps you get on the good grace of the vast majority of society. Okay.
You want to go on? Do we want to get in so much into it? I didn't read all of it. It's kind of.
Let's see if there's amazing sentences that we can quote.
Kind of make me sick.
Oh, he's talking about like general politics. Interesting. Oh, but this one. I don't buy the sayings that I used to sign off on gladly, that all humans were created in the image of God, and all humans have equal rights from the day that they are born. I'm really sorry, but my warm feelings only go to the ones who don't want to destroy me. while he's saying that he wants to destroy. Okay.
Yeah.
All others, as far as I'm concerned, do not exist anymore. Children, elderly, women, all the natural candidates for compassion do not, I do not give a rat's ass on them anymore if they belong to a people that is conspiring to murder me and to take my land away. And we thought that this was very ironic. This specific, like the projection, the levels of projection are unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's saying they want to take my land away when he's living on land that was taken away from them.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah, and it keeps being taken away and away. I think like somebody wrote here, are you going to talk about the West Bank? So it's kind of worth noting. I must say, honestly, I'm not following up day-to-day events. I just know that
we have other anti-Zionist Israeli friends. They exist.
Yeah.
A few of them exist.
And we're discussing Avri Gilad post, so that I saw it from Adam group.
Yeah.
And it seems like, in a way, that just genocide or the same similar tactics that happens in Gaza just moved to the West Bank, you know, and it makes me think that, like, I just finished this book about settler colonialism by Cy Engler, I think his name, and you see that it's a process that can never stop. Like, I think one of the reasons we're talking about dismantling the system, like, you need to, I don't see a situation when Israel just stops doing that. Like, it will continue to do it.
It's becoming worse and worse.
It's becoming worse and worse. And there's this appetite for more land that never being, it never being stopped. And there's this push for more escalation and more violence.
Yes.
And it's scary, the consequences of it. And I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, Avri Gilad can think that he can write posts like this and feel superior forever and to be in the seat on the crown of the powerful, but it's gonna turn back, like, on him. It's gonna turn, like, at some point, this colonial machine is going to be stopped. Like, this is something I'm kind of sure about, and I keep saying it, and I don't know why, because
the only question is when and how.
Yeah. And, sometimes I want to tell people, okay, you want to push your morality like this asshole and to praise yourself that you don't have ethics anymore, that the ethics that you never had, but it's going to turn back on you at some point. Like, empires fall and you're a pain in the ass for people, not just the Palestinian, all of the Middle East, like, people here are sick of it. They're sick of it. They want it to be gone. They see, just I think about it, like, people who identify strongly with Jews, I don't feel like that my identification with Jews is stronger than for other people. Like, any people who get massacred anyway are like, I think. But anyway, like, if you're a Muslim and you're sitting and you're watching the genocide in Gaza unfolding day after day after day, and you can't do anything, like, think about you if it was happening to you, how Jews felt on the 7th of October, now just multiply it by...
Yes, by like 100.
Yeah. So, I don't know what's going to unfold here.
I saw something a few days ago on Instagram. I saw this video of this guy being arrested. And I'm not sure about the details. I don't remember all the details. But it was a Jewish cult leader, like in the US, I think. This guy who was a cult leader, and he abused children, okay? And he happened to be Jewish as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was on like a pro-Palestine channel, okay, on Instagram. And I went and took a look at the comments. And the comments, I must say, were very scary to me,
Yeah.
okay? Because the comments were something like, these people are this and this and this and this and this. So comments that are very definitely anti-Semitic, okay? Just very obviously anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
They take this guy, and because this guy happens to be Jewish, they say that all Jews are this and this and this and this and this. And me, I also happen to be Jewish, or they say that I am Jewish. I don't accept this label, but it doesn't matter if I accept this label or not.
That's what we know about racism, that it doesn't matter what you say about it.
Yes. And so this is scary to me, okay? But on a personal level, on a very personal level.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of thoughts when I see something like this. I have a lot of thoughts, okay? So one of the thoughts that I have. So the very first thought is, this sucks so bad. Like, people who I think could be my allies, people who are pro-Palestine, like I am pro-Palestine, who are anti-Zionist, like I am anti-Zionist. Not really. They just hate. They just like to hate, and their hate is now directed at Jews.
Yeah.
But another thought that I have is, how can I blame them? Like, I can. Everyone has complete responsibility for their thoughts and actions. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, they've been watching a genocide unfolding for 15, 16 months now. They've been watching tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people being massacred in the most brutal of ways. And it was all done very explicitly by the state of Israel, that claims that we are the state of the Jews, we are the Jewish state, and we are doing this in the name of Judaism.
Yeah.
So, like, how can you blame people for thinking that this is done in the name of Judaism? Because the people doing it are saying very explicitly that they are doing it in the name of Judaism.
Yeah, you can state that is carrying it out, put the symbol that is considered to be the symbol of Judaism.
Yes. The planes that are dropping the bombs have a Star of David on them.
Yeah.
So how can you blame people for thinking that this is something that the Jews are doing? And I don't know. I think that people who default to a place where they say all the Jews are bad because this happened. They are people who, if they happen to be born in this society, they would be Zionists. Okay,
they would be right. They would be writing posts like
Elik and Alon. It's the same kind of thinking. Okay, so I will finish the point. So it's the same kind of thinking. It's the kind of thinking that divides people into groups, and divides living beings in general into groups based on arbitrary characteristics, and then they assign morality to groups according to these arbitrary divisions. So you can divide to Jews and Muslims and say that Jews are better than Muslims, and therefore Jews have the right, or Israelis have the right to massacre Muslims, like Avli Gilad is saying. And you can divide to Jews and Muslims and say, no, Islam is the truth and the light, and Jews are deranged and they're all pedophiles and blah 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 blah, and therefore it's okay to do to Jews whatever. So this is the same kind of thinking, only on different sides. And I'm not trying to create a symmetry. Of course, the genocide is now going in one direction. Okay, but it's the same kind of infrastructure of thinking. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that people who are now saying these kinds of things about, these people, the Jews, these people are all, twisted and violent and whatever. If they happen to be born in this society, they would definitely be Zionists. They would definitely support the genocide. They would be speaking the very same way that Avri Gilad is speaking.
Yeah. So it makes me, but I think a lot of time we're talking about like the Zionists and how, but sometimes I have this depressing thought that maybe people are just like that.
Yeah, people are just like that.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I know that is not very different in other places.
Yeah.
So I think in this society, people have been they've been going. This society has been going through a process of corruption for decades now, for let's say 100 years in some sense. Okay, like 3 or 4 generations of corruption, of more and more and more corruption, and the results are the results that we see around us. Okay, but I think any society can go through this process of corruption in the right circumstances, and I think all of human society is corrupt to some extent. And this is because of the worldwide system that we see around us that corrupts everybody. This, what is going on here in Palestine, in occupied Palestine, is just, a very extreme end of this.
But what do we have here? Why we're speaking so much against Zionism, and maybe this is a good time to go a bit to the article. I think it's the power imbalance, because I think, like, many Israelis keep showing showing quotes of like Hamas people saying we want to kill all the Jews, and if you look for these quotes, they exist, of Palestine. But why am I more scared by quotes of like Avri Gilad? Because they're in position of enacting it. Yes. They have the power to do it, and they're doing it. And they're doing it more and more and more and more. And the question is not if people are good and who is more good and who is more bad. The important question is who has the power to do it.
Yes.
And how we create a situation where both sides cannot do it, even if they want to. They don't have an incentive to do it.
I don't think even that's. I think this is a more important question, but I think the deeper question, the even deeper question, is how we deconstruct all of this.
Yeah, right.
And the point is that any situation where there is systematic imbalance of power will create corruption.
Right, and it will create. There's different kind of hate. There is the hate that the weak and the colonized have towards his colonizer, and there's the hate that the colonizer and the strong have towards its victims. And I think they're qualitatively different. It's not the same kind of hate. And many people think that I'm blind towards the hate that sometimes Palestinians have towards us. And I personally got that hate even when I speak for Palestinian rights. Once here and then I have quote that tells me I don't give a shit about you, you live on my land, you should go away. And I know this thing exists, but I feel I'm still on the oppressive side. I have more responsibility to seek justice. And I think the side of the colonizer and the oppressor have more ability also to change the situation. And this is what's so tragic, because here we saw like 15-16 months of genocide, and they still were not able to defeat Hamas. Like, they think they have power in where they don't.
Yes.
And they don't see the power where they do have it.
Yes.
And I think that's always like...
Yes, they have the power to indiscriminately bomb Gaza and destroy it completely. They don't have the power to destroy, dismantle Hamas. They don't have this power.
Yeah, and they could have the power to create a system of justice where everyone equal. They could if they wanted to.
Yes.
That they are more safe and the Palestinians are more safe. They could have many ways to implement it in a ways that will guarantee their, security and all the things they want, but they keep and that's what because the colonizer is always dumb, and I think it's part of the tragedy of the situation, and that's why we need the help of the world to boycott, to do all this kind of things.
And also let's make it explicit that the support of the world is what is creating this situation and maintaining this situation in the interest of the empire. Okay, Israel is, I see Israel more and more as nothing but a military base in the Middle East that was created by using the Jews and their trauma, using the Jews as a collective and their collective trauma in order to create a military base that was created in order to advance the diplomatic, economic, colonialist interests of the Western Empire in the Middle East. Just very, very simple. And this is becoming more and more apparent to me by the day. But this is just what it is. All the rest is, incidental.
Yeah.
Let's continue with the article.
Yeah, you feel we're up to it.
Yeah. I feel we're up to it, and
you want to look a bit stuff
at comments. Before. Okay, and then we can summarize the first part that we did over on my channel, the Hebrew Canaanite, and then we can continue.
Yeah.
So let's see. I am happy that I can meet you real time under the same sky. Greetings from Japan. Greetings back. It's nice that people, but I don't think that Jack is Japanese. Just living in Japan.
Okay.
Oh, as Japanese. Oh, okay, cool. As Japanese, I feel Israel today really looks like Japanese cultic empire during World War II.
Interesting.
Maybe you can write a little bit about that. We would love to hear more about it. Someone mentioning the Stanford experiment. Two groups of people, one given power and the other over the other. Both sides' actions spiraled wildly after days. Power corrupts. Yes. This is a very famous experiment. This is human nature. I mean, those Palestinians, most of them saw either his home being taken, destroyed, or his family died, etc. So, I don't know about human nature. I don't know. Like, I try to be careful with sayings about human nature. I think it's understandable. And I also think that human nature can be very diverse. It can go in many different directions. And I think that the current situation is taking out the more ugly sides of human nature from all of us, everyone involved.
Yeah.
Let's see if there are more. Whoops. I don't know. Okay. I think we should continue with the article. Okay. So you want to summarize what we did in the first part, and then we will continue?
Yeah. So we read like one page.
We read a page and a half. Maybe I will send again the link to the article.
Yeah.
If I can find it. Here it is. So you can join us in reading the article, and we kind of read page 1, and we are on page 2. And you want to summarize what we had in page 1, what we were talking about?
Yeah. So we were talking about, we read this article of Simone Weil, it's called Are We Struggling for Justice? It was Alon idea.
Yeah.
I read it before. I didn't know about Simone Weil so much. And I think part of activism is also learning and learning from other people. And she had very interesting life. You should go and read about her.
Yes.
And this article is talking about what is justice. And we read one page that she starts from a quote that says that justice is carried out when you have equal necessity on both sides to maintain, to be in a situation that is just, and by that she meant that when there's imbalance of power, right? There is there cannot be a situation of justice.
Yes. Because justice is a situation of mutual consent.
Yeah.
And when one side has power over the other side, then mutual consent is not something that is even being, asked for or seeked by the one with the power. The one with the power will just do what they want. This is the point.
Yeah. It raises a lot of question. What is power? I think there's things that are not clear about it, but I liked it when she said, she quotes Plato that says that love neither does nor suffers injustice, neither amongst the gods nor amongst men. For whatever is done to love, it is not done by force. So she kind of does equation between love and justice, which I think in a way.
I don't know if she equates it, but she says, I think that in this article, there's several, concepts that she explains how in her mind are connected to each other. So the concept of justice, the concept of love, the concept of consent, the concept of power, the concept of equality, and so forth and so on. And she's creating this system of connections between all these concepts. So for example, she says, love does not suffer injustice. So that if you have love inside you, if you are loving, then you will look at injustice and you will not suffer it. You will say, I'm against this. So let's continue from maybe the top of page 2 or something like this.
Okay.
Maybe here, like here.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I should read this before. Okay. This makes the opposition of what the just and possible in the word cited in Thucydides. Thucydides is the Greek historian she quoted in the beginning. Very clear. When there is equal strength on both sides, one seeks the conditions of mutual consent. When someone does not have the capacity to refuse, one is not going to look for a way of obtaining his consent. Thus, only those conditions which correspond to objective necessities are examined. The consent of matter is all that one seeks. Okay.
So I think this paragraph is saying when there is an imbalance of power, then the one in power, we were talking about this, the one in power will not even seek consent because they don't care. They don't care because the other side, the one that does not have the power, cannot refuse anything. If the one in power wants to do this or this or this, and the one without the power cannot refuse, then the one in power will just do it. They will not seek consent because it is not necessary.
Okay. In other words, human action has no other rule or limit than obstacles. It has no contact with realities other than these. Matter imposes obstacles which are determined by its own mechanism. A man may impose obstacles through a power to refuse, which he sometimes has and sometimes not. When he does not have it, he does not constitute an obstacle, nor consequently a limit. In relations to the actions and to the one who performs, he has no existence. You want to explain this?
So I'm thinking, okay. Let's say I want to move my hand forward, okay? So now there's only air around us, so I can move my hand forward, no problem, and backwards.
Yeah.
But if there is an obstacle, I don't know, I have a box here, the box of the speaker. So if I try to move my hand forward, I cannot, okay? Because the box is here and blocking it. There is a physical barrier to me doing what I want to do.
Yeah, and the obstacle becomes the thing, right? If I think about, let's say, the Palestinian people are under occupation. I think for many Palestinians, the liberations is the main important thing in life. It's a big thing. But let's say it's just an obstacle. You
Yes.
know, it's funny. Like it could be the moment it is gone, it's not a thing anymore. But the moment it is there, it becomes the focus of the attention.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
yeah.
And also, if you look at Israelis, at Zionists, they want to take over Gaza,
Yeah.
and they have an obstacle. The
Which
obstacle
are-
is like 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza.
Yeah.
So they will try to remove the obstacle. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, so these are physical obstacles, but
Yeah.
some obstacles are not as immediate. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for example, I don't know if I want to. I go into a store, okay, and I see something that I want. I see some product that I want.
Mm-hmm.
So physically, I can just take it and walk away,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't.
Yeah.
Why can't I? This raises questions. What is the obstacle for me taking the product that I want from the store? What is the obstacle? What is the problem?
The problem is the fact that there's somebody who will stop you, who will detect you.
Okay, so this is theoretical, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not an actual person that's actually there and actually preventing you physically from taking it. It's the thought that someone would do it if you did that, right? It's the threat of this. So I'm thinking
the threat
about
of violence.
Yes. So I'm thinking about two things that maybe can illustrate this. I remember when I started playing chess with my grandfather, I don't know, 20 years ago. I had a game of chess with my grandfather, and I wasn't really interested in chess before that. And then I remember like thinking about, should I move this piece here? And then I was like, oh, I can't move this piece here. Not because this piece will be taken, but because if I move this piece here, then the other piece that is being protected will not be protected anymore, and then my grandfather can take this other piece, okay? Yeah. And then if you think like 3, 4, 5, 6 moves ahead, you will see that there is an intricate web of threats and repercussions for every single move in chess. And this is what makes the game of chess interesting and complicated, okay? Yeah. But I think this is a very interesting analogy to real life, right? Mm-hmm. I can just go into the store and take the product and go away, but what will happen? What are the chances that something bad will happen to me? Maybe they will take me to prison. Maybe I will feel shame. Maybe blah 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 blah. All kinds of things. And you need and you when you project forward into the future, what will happen if I do this? Then you see a very intricate, complicated, and real system of repercussions. And this, I think, is power. So technically, a Palestinian can just disregard something that a Zionist soldier tells them. They can technically refuse, physically. But what will happen if they do? Yeah, they will be taken into prison and so forth and so on. So and their family will get in trouble, and everyone will get in trouble. So when we think about systems of power, I think that this is the kind of thing that we're thinking of like this intricate web of threats and implied repercussions. Yeah. And another thought that I have is about I don't remember the name of this thing. Panopticon. Did you hear about the panopticon?
I heard about Foucault was analyzing it, but I don't know his book about prisons. But
yes, okay. So Foucault, he analyzed the concept of power, and I think it's no accident that he mentioned this thing. So the panopticon is something that was thought of, I think, in the 15th, 16th century by this guy who was, I think, twisted, like just insane. And he invented a system to keep prisoners in check, okay? Yeah. And he was like, okay, how do I keep, maybe if there's a prison and there are 100 prisoners and only one guard, how can one guard keep 100 prisoners in check? So the very fact that he was thinking about these kinds of questions and trying to find solutions to these situations makes me think that he was insane. But never mind, he thought of an idea, and the idea is that you put the guards post in the center of like this circular, array of cells. Okay, and it is true that technically the guard cannot look at all the prisoners at the same time, but theoretically he can. Theoretically, so no prisoner can know if they are being watched at a specific moment. They don't know if they're being watched or not. They might be being watched, okay? And if they are watched, there might be consequences to their actions.
They don't know, but they cannot know when and where.
Yes, and this is another way that power operates.
I think, Israel implies many kind of these methods on the West Bank and in Gaza. I saw there is a documentary that is done by, what's his name? It's about the guy who wrote the Palestine Laboratory, about all the ways that Israel creates new surveillance systems and tries it on the Palestinians and then sells it all over the world.
I can look it up if you want, and you can continue telling about this.
And it just showed really, I think it was on Al Jazeera, it shows all the way that Israel uses technology to surveil and monitor Palestinians in everywhere they are. And in some places it gets really crazy, like in Hebron, and it's like
Anthony Levinstein?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's very good, and he's doing this. He did this documentary also, and it's crazy that humans get into the situation where they're able to control other humans like this, and they feel they have the legitimacy to do it. Yes. So, and it's interesting. I thought when you look at we said the obstacle, right? That the obstacle is what prevents. So for some people, for the occupied, the obstacle is the occupation, is the control system that's put in place to keep them in check. And for the occupier, what is the interest of the occupier? I don't know. Sometimes I think, does Israel want more land, or does it want to keep the Palestinian there so they can control them sadistically, and also to use the system of control to surveil? It also gives, I don't know, I think, because sometimes I think maybe they need this, maybe they need it because the Israeli regime is trying to control us as well, right? And as long as the Palestinian exists and you have these dynamics, it's kind of keep the Israeli population loyal.
Yes, it's very convenient for those who seek power to be that this situation exists.
Yeah.
And it's not a coincidence that this convenient situation exists. It's never a coincidence. If you see a situation that is convenient for those in power, you can bet that those in power created, or at least did a lot to maintain this situation. We contributed to the creation and to the maintenance of this situation, and maybe they are solely responsible for this. Maybe it's just something that they created,
I don't, something that you see in that movie is that how that they could very easily tell that something like October 7th is going to happen, and they chose to ignore it. And it's just raised the question why, but they were so complex systems of surveillance around Gaza. That's very similar to this panopticon thing you were talking about. That they could see in their computers everything. They saw that they're practicing. The level of control that Israel had on Gaza is sick. They had times when they're calculated how much food gets inside and how much calories they monitored people's phones. Like, it's not that they didn't know, you know, like, so I'm asking, why did they let it slip? And it's a question.
Yeah, and it's now there are some Israelis who have conspiratorial thinking about like what happened there. But I don't think like there is a conspiracy here. There are powers here that are working together to maintain the situation. It's not like the fact that something is conspiratorial thinking doesn't make it false.
Yeah.
It makes it worth examining. But you need to have strong evidence for this. But I think that we do have strong evidence.
There is strong evidence that the information that this was going to happen was there. We don't know if they're intentionally, if they wanted this to happen, or they didn't believe that the Palestinians are going to pull it off because they believe they had them in their pocket, like I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, there is reasons to believe that maybe they thought, you know, okay, it's good that we have something like this because there was unrest, social unrest inside, like 48.
Yeah, and now we can aspire to unity.
Yeah,
together we will win. Together we will win.
Because the moment it happened, everyone was like, now we're unity. We're like, you know, and there was and this is...
And Netanyahu is still in power.
Yeah.
Netanyahu is still in power, even though, it's not sure that if October 7th did not happen, that Netanyahu would still be in power. It would be more difficult for him to keep his powerful position.
Yeah, and it's basically killed a lot of protests that were against the judicial reforms that he wanted.
Yes.
But to me, it's also, I think, like and Gaza was always a problem. Like I think they wanted to get rid of the population of Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you read the historical records, programs to deport the Gazan population was there since 48.
Yes.
And also, like, you know, it's people that Israel wanted to expel in 48, most of them. So I don't know, and they're so.
But we're getting further away
farther.
From the actual article. So let's continue with the article. Where were we? In relation to the action and to one who performs it, it has no existence when something is not an obstacle. Okay. Whenever there is action, thought moves towards its goal. Without obstacles, the goal would be attained as soon as thought of. Sometimes that is how it is. A child sees his mother from afar after an absence, and he is in her arms almost before knowing that he has seen her. But when immediate fulfillment is impossible, thought, at first focused on the goal, is inevitably claimed by the obstacles. This is what you said before, that for the Palestinians, for example, the occupation is everything that exists.
Yeah.
Because everything that they want to achieve is being blocked by the occupation. They cannot achieve it. And what Simone Weil is doing here is just describing how the consciousness works under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
You see something that you want, you go to get it. If there are no obstacles in getting it, you will get it. You will not even give it a second thought. But the moment you encounter obstacles, then things get complicated. Then your mind goes to the obstacle instead of the goal. Okay, we talked about this enough, I think. Let's continue. Thought at first focused on the goal is inevitably claimed by the obstacles. It is claimed by them alone. Where there are none, it does not stop. Anything not constituting an obstacle to the substance of its action, for example, men without the capacity to refuse, is transparent to it as is completely clear glass to sight. It is not up to it to stop there any more than it is up to sight to discern glass. So, okay, she continues this line of the only thing that matters to consciousness once it is focused on the goal is obstacles. And a person who does not have the power to refuse what you want to do to them is not an obstacle.
Yeah.
So this is why
it's a hard notion, you know, because I think it makes me think, okay, the only reason, let's say, I'm not imposing myself on you is because we have equal balance of power. But if you were more weak, I would just, the first thing will impose my force on you. It's like.
So I don't think that's exactly what she said. I don't think. Okay. So I think
Don't we have like good heart feelings also that
Okay,
makes us
so-
to not use our power when we can? I can see a little child and I can be nice to him even though I'm stronger. I can, like
Okay, so let's go back to the first page where she says, she quotes Thucydides, okay,
yeah,
and then she says, and then she says, what did she say? These two sentences are the sort that shock kindly souls.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm reacted like a kindly soul now. That
Yes.
like what?
Yes.
Aren't we motivated by other things rather than just power and?
So, another thing that we will get to very soon is the insanity of love. Okay, she's saying some people in some situations are insane, and they are insane with love. This is sanity. Sanity is this. Okay, the normal way that things operate is that consciousness has a goal. It goes towards this goal, and it will get it if no obstacles are in sight.
Yeah.
Okay, but sometimes there are people who are insane for
Yeah.
some reason, like you and I.
Yeah.
Insane with compassion. And this connects to what Avri Gilad said. I'm no longer insane with compassion.
Yeah, right,
You know?
right. He's actually saying in this post, if I'm taking, I'm adhering to the normalcy of my society,
Yes.
where we have no obstacle of like dehumanizing Palestinians. So I'm going with it, right? He's kind of, and before we talked, I said that like I think he's popular because he gives kind of to many people
Legitimacy.
Yeah, he gives legitimacy to people to be to enact their supremacy, their sense of like this. Why do we always have to be moral? It's so annoying. Many people like really want to get rid of it, and then something happens in society, and we kind of have a license to throw morality out of the window, and then come people like Avri Gilad who says, "Guys, it's allowed. Look, I'm celebrity. I'm successful. I have money. I'm appreciated, and I write stuff
and
like
also,
this.
I'm a moral person. I'm
And
a good person.
right.
I'm a good person."
Right.
He has this image of someone who is good, who is sophisticated, who is kind, blah, 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 blah. But now we have a permission to stop being kind. Okay, so let's continue. Another paragraph. So someone who does not see a pane of glass does not know that he does not see it. Someone who, being placed differently, does see it, does not know that the other does not see it.
I don't understand the context of this sentence and what it has to do with what you wrote before.
So I think that what she's trying to say is that we keep being very puzzled by Zionists, for example, or supremacists of any kind. Okay, carnists, Zionists, chauvinists, like male chauvinists, capitalists with a lot of money who don't see. And supremacists have a tendency to just not see beyond the end of their own noses, right? They cannot, they do stuff because it's fun for them, because they want to do stuff. And the stuff that they do hurts others, but others are transparent to them. Why? Because they're not obstacles. There is an imbalance of power, and these others have no right to refuse. Palestinians have no power to refuse what Zionists want to do to them. Cows and chickens have no power to refuse what carnists want to do to them, to kill them and eat their corpses. They have no power to refuse, and therefore they are transparent. And what she's saying now is, look, to consciousness, anything that is not an obstacle is transparent like glass. Okay? And therefore, consciousness has no business seeing it. Like if it's glass, you're not going to look at it as something that it doesn't matter to you. You want to look at what's beyond the glass. Okay? And now she's saying, if you become confused by how people How do Zionists don't see the Palestinians? And the point is because the Palestinians are no obstacles. They are like glass to them. They are transparent like glass to them. And if you are the one who is seeing this glass, okay, then you need to understand that they are not seeing the glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when it's like people react, like for people, for example, who are aware of the settler colonialism in Palestine and the brutality of it, 7th of October wasn't that of a shock.
Yes.
Even some people said, how come there wasn't more of this? You know?
Yes.
But Zionists reacted like, oh my God.
Yeah, they were completely shocked.
Yeah, how you guys dare to interfere with our life and to break this imbalance of power where we're allowed to kill you in masses, and when you do it, it's like suddenly they are human animals or whatever, you know. So yeah, like I think I think that's what I wanted to say.
So let's continue to the next paragraph. I think we're here.
When our will finds expression outside ourselves in actions performed by others, we do not waste our time and our power of attention in examining whether they have consented to this. This is true for all of us. Our attention, given entirely to the success of the undertaking, is not claimed by them as long as they are docile.
Docile is like submissive. It's like that they don't resist.
Yeah, when they don't resist, we don't see them, right? That's kind of
yes. But I think what she's saying. So continue a little bit more and.
But because of this action is tainted by sacrilege. But because of this action is tainted by sacrilege. What is sacrilege?
Sacrilege is like going against something that is sacred, going against something that is holy. But I think hold on. No, this is a new idea. So I will say what I wanted to say before we continue to this. I think what she's saying is that, like, okay, so let's think about evolution, okay? Like evolutionary psychology, okay? So our psychology is constructed in a way that is evolutionarily advantageous, okay? And what is evolutionarily advantageous is not seeing anything unless it is a goal that you want to reach or an obstacle in the way of reaching this goal. What she's saying is that it is better for survival and for constructing all the things that we want to construct and for prosperity, that we don't occupy our minds with all those unimportant details that are not goals or obstacles in the way to achieving these goals.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise that our consciousness is built in this way, because if it weren't built in this way, then we would have, we would be inferior on an evolutionary it's not advantageous. Okay, so it's advantageous that our mind works in this simple way. It finds a goal. The goal is, I don't know, food or whatever, and then it creates action, and the action is to go to achieve this goal, and it will only be distracted by obstacles.
Yeah, it's interesting because it reminds me a text of some guy. Maybe you wouldn't like, Ludwig von Mises. He's a libertarian economist, and he talks about human action. And he's talking about this kind of stuff. What determines our action? And he talks about this thing that you have something you want, you go towards it, and if you have an obstacle, your attention go to the obstacle. Like in the time when I was more into libertarian thinking, I was drawn to this kind of stuff. I think the difference that she's trying to go also against it. She's
Yes.
trying to challenge this mode of being, and he's
Yes.
saying, like he was saying, this
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like it. Like I agree that the normal state of affairs is that this is how most people operate.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree. I agree. But I see it as a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is something that we need to condone and to encourage and to amplify.
I don't think like you can entirely put it away. Like I think it's a mode of being of any living being in a way that you strive for things that will maintain your survival. But I think if maybe you shift your mode of being to how do I make everyone, including myself, benefit from the situation, you can both ensure yourself and like I think there is a way. It's interesting.
I think it relates to what we were talking about in the last episode of our podcast. We were talking about the prisoner's dilemma,
Yeah,
and the hostage's dilemma, and that if you continue the infrastructure of there are different agents, and each agent wants to maximize their own utility function. All these slightly Nazi ways of thinking. Maybe not slightly, maybe just Nazi ways of thinking. And the agents want to maximize their utility function, and they will do whatever needs to be done to maximize their utility function from their own subjective, narrow subjective point of view, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then there is no real solution to the prisoner's dilemma.
Yeah.
Like the prisoners will tell on each other, and they will both lose from this.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you change the infrastructure of your thinking, if you say, okay, so instead of having this frame of there are separate agents who want to maximize their utility functions, you say so I was talking about I said super morality, but then I remember it's not super morality, I forgot the term as well. I forgot the term now. Also, it's super something, super like to look at things from above. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot the technical term. It's to look at things from above, and then it gives you a solution to the prisoner's dilemma. If both prisoners look at things from above, then things change. Then the situation changes, and then they can cooperate. And I think that this is related to what we will be talking about soon, because this concept of love and justice, it doesn't exist from our own narrow subjective point of view. Agents who want to maximize their utility function, they don't have this concept of justice. Right. They don't need it. They don't want it, and it's counterproductive to everything that they're trying to do. Right.
So that's why she call it madness, or you kind of have to go against this mode of being that only see like interests and obstacles, right?
Yes.
Like you have to,
Okay, so let's continue to the sacrilege.
Okay.
What is sacrilege?
Yeah, what is sacrilege?
Sacrilege is chilul hakodesh in Hebrew. It's when you do something that is a sin. Okay. That goes against what is sacred and holy.
Okay.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, but because of this, action is tainted by sacrilege. Okay. For human, consent is a sacred thing. It is what man grants to God. It is what God comes in search of man. Like a beggar, he approaches man. I think she talks about this picture.
Oh, the drawing by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel.
I think because in this drawing it looks like God really wants to approach man, and man is like, no, I don't. Like,
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So an interesting interpretation.
Yeah. What God unceasingly begs each man to grant is the very thing which other men despise. Okay. Do you wanna?
Okay, so she will go on with this point, but I just want to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what she's saying is that all action is tainted by sacrilege. Why? Because she's saying what is action? Action is looking at the goal and doing whatever you want to do to get this goal, and disregarding everything that is not a physical obstacle
Yeah.
on your way to obtaining this goal.
Yeah.
And this relates again to what we were talking about in the last episode.
Yeah.
Because can you live without hurting anyone else?
Mm.
If you are maddened with love, with compassion, with justice, okay? If you are insane, and you actually want to not hurt anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and you actually want to get the consent of everyone around you for everything that you do,
Mm-hmm.
will it be even possible to continue to live?
Yeah, maybe you wouldn't be able to survive.
Maybe. This is an interesting question. But the point is that if we see this situation, we see that there is a tension between action and consent. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And because consent is sacred, every action that does not ask for full consent of everyone involved is sacrilege, is a sin against God. And now she will go on to elaborate this relationship that there exists between God and man. But I also want to point out one more thing. She says, for human consent is a sacred thing.
Mm-hmm.
Human consent is a sacred thing. And then I want to ask Simone, she is dead now, but wherever you are, Miss Weil, why do you add this word human? Why? Why? Is it necessary here? No, it's not. So when Elik and I were speaking about this article on WhatsApp, I sent Elik a screenshot with every time it said human, I crossed it out.
Yeah.
Or every time it said human being, I crossed it out and I said living being.
Mm-hmm.
And the article does not change. Nothing in the article changes except for one thing: it is no longer human supremacist.
Yeah.
There is a why is human consent sacred? Okay.
You go on.
I will go on this. Why is human consent sacred, but bovine consent not sacred? Why is feline consent not sacred? Why is canine consent not sacred? Why is it only humans who are sacred in your mind, Simone Weil? And I think so she's talking about, are we struggling for justice? And she wants to create a framework for how justice can work, and she's saying that justice requires the consent of everyone involved. But it is highly ironic that she is also tainted by the same thing that she is criticizing. Okay, so she's saying once there is an imbalance of power, those in power will not see the others who do not have power when they cannot refuse their actions. And Simone doesn't see cows, chickens, goats, sheep, pigs, etc. Doesn't see non-human animals as obstacles to achieve her own goals, her own, I don't know, academic goals. And therefore, non-human animals are completely transparent in her mind. So transparent that she is writing an article about justice, about consent, against violence, about love, and she completely discards 99.99999% of the population of Earth. She completely discounts them. And those who are specifically her victims, it is absolutely, I have no doubt in my mind that Simone Weil ate meat, ate cheese, ate eggs, and she contributed actively to the oppression, to the subjugation, to the exploitation, to the enslavement, and to the mass murder of non-human animals. It is absolutely clear. And she did not see it. And I think that this is something that we need to be very attentive to, because if we realize that even Simone Weil, while she was writing the article where she was talking about justice, where she was talking about how victims are transparent, still her own victims are completely transparent to her. This is something that needs to light, like a warning light in our own minds. Where are our own blind spots? Are we struggling for justice? Are we struggling for justice? Okay, so I did the spiel here. This will return many times in this article. It can very easily be changed to not be human supremacist and to actually speak about justice. But Simone Weil did not bother to do it, and this is because she was part of the human supremacist society of humans. Okay.
But maybe okay, we can go on. But
Okay.
no, I think it's kind of danger we always have when we kind of saying, you can say human. So also, even if you not just human supremacy, like many Westerners said, like, and who is human? Human is only the white race. They did also this thing.
And Zionists, right after October 7th happened, they said about the Palestinians are human animals.
Yeah.
They said they used this system of supremacy where humans are at the top and non-human animals are below to take the Palestinians and downgrade them to the level of non-human animals or human animals. It's this contradiction, okay? And that's something that the Nazis did on the Jews as well. They said the Jews are subhuman, right? This is the way that they. So once you have this system of supremacy where humans are at the top and non-human animals are below them, you can use this system to downgrade anyone that you want to downgrade. You can say the Jews are like rats.
Yeah.
You can say the Palestinians are like whatever, are human animals. And then it's allowed to do to them what we do to non-human animals in general.
Okay, so, but if I go back, she says, for human, consent is a sacred thing. It was man. It is what man grants to God. It is what God comes in search of when, like a beggar, he approaches men. What God unceasingly begs each man to grant is the very thing which other men despise. This I didn't understand.
So maybe we can continue reading and then we will understand more.
Okay.
I will go to use the bathroom. You can continue.
Okay,
or maybe answer questions or whatever.
Rape is terrible caricature of love, from which consent is absent. After rape, oppression is the second horror of human existence. It is a terrible caricature of obedience. Consent is an essential to obedience as it is to love. All right. I'm trying to understand what she's trying to say here. But I think the issue is that how do we get what is consent? And I don't really understand it. Maybe I look a bit what people write. I think there is distinct needed of obstacle as being something seen as confrontational or just contrasting to your present state of being. I'm not. Wait. Shit. Oh, sorry. I think like the thing is that what I take from it is that consent and to get consent of all beings involved is not something that like I thought about it while I was going, that in order to create a situation where we have justice, which means like that everyone are in consented to what happens to them, it's not something that is like final goal to be achieved. Like I thought about it, that's in a way like maybe struggling for justice is always going kind of against stream. Like I thought about it that in our society, for example, like acknowledging the horrors of like the occupation is you need to make an effort for this. It's not something that is the default, is that you can just it's not something that you easily see. In a way our mode of being who just sees our life and our obstacles, it's like the default is not to see the injustice around, is not to see that so many violence is committed around you. So maybe that's why to be in a search, like I'm trying to struggle with these sentences. Maybe you can.
Which one?
I don't know. I said that what I think about this, that for human consent is a sacred thing, that it's kind of a tension, because one hand we hold it as a sacred thing, the consent, but on the other hand, our natural mode of being is just we don't see if consent is reached before we act. We just act. And if there is no, and if the victim is not visible and not showing his refusal, we don't even, people eat animals, they're different, their default is not even, they don't even think about it. So that's why to seek justice is kind of madness, this madness that she talks about. But on the other hand, she says like for human consent is not just, it's also sacred.
Yes.
So there is some kind of tension between what is sacred to us, and this is what most people will claim, that they have morality and justice and they want like.
Yes.
But then you ask them, okay, what about this? What about eating animals?
Yes.
What about being complicit in many crimes? We always bring these two examples, but there are so many of them. I think.
Yes, it's just the ones that are very readily available for us to speak about. But there are so many injustices.
But this is part of it. Like reality is designed that we don't know, that we, first of all, we take part in many injustices because we have no choice, because we live in society that injustice is a deep part of it. So. Yes. And it's more convenient not to see. And the moment you put someone in injustice, many people come and say, oh, okay, but what about this? And what about this? And this, how can we live if we don't take part in injustice? Like the person who try to struggle for justice is always in a weak position. He's always in position that is kind of, fighting something. Like, even here, like you fight against the occupation, but like, all the society around you is like everyone's going to the army. It's what's being normalized. You go to one demonstration, but then you will go to what happened to me this Friday, and then you go with family that some of the people are maybe in the army. Like, it's always this. If we want to seek this, holy principle of consent, it's almost impossible. That's the feeling.
So we had a conversation, I think it was more than a year ago. We had a conversation, and we were talking about the genocide. It was like the first month or two of the genocide. So we weren't even used to it at that point.
Yeah.
And we were still in shock, like deep shock. Now, I don't know, it's become normalize that this is the situation, which is insane within itself, but never mind.
Yeah.
We were still in deep shock and trying to understand what was going on. And we were talking about the Holocaust compared to the situation that we were in. And you mentioned this aphorism. Where was God during the Holocaust? Right?
Yeah.
You mentioned this. This is something that is very common in like Israeli society to ask, where was God during the Holocaust? Where was God during the Holocaust? Why did God not protect his supposedly chosen people? Where was God during the Holocaust? And a lot of Holocaust survivors became atheists because of this, or at least they didn't want to follow the Jewish religion anymore, because to them God betrayed them, or it was just proof that God does not exist.
My grandfather was like this.
Yeah, you want to say a few words about?
Yeah, I have a story that I think my grandfather has. I remember him telling a story that after the Holocaust, he saw religious Jews praying and thanking God for saving them, and he went aside and threw up from disgust from this, because he said, "You're just thinking about you being saved, and you're actually saying your life is more important than all the others that got killed, who weren't saved, and where is this God?" And I grew up on hearing this, and my father is a staunch atheist. I more like have spiritual tendencies, but but it was kind of a rebellion for me, you know, when I was after the
be spiritual was rebellion.
Yeah, and I took some psychedelics after the army, and I had some. I can't say I experienced the divine, whatever it is, but it's also raised up, you know, like the moment I had godly experience, I felt like, how can I, and I still struggle with it, you know, like, because I hate spiritual people in Israel now, and part of it that because they're so narcissistic, like I really appreciate my grandfather for going aside and feeling disgust. This is the correct reaction. Yeah, I feel there is something correct about it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my point is, so when we were talking about this, I found myself saying something that I still think is relevant, and this is that during the Holocaust, the actions of humans caused God to disappear. He was not present. He was not present because he could not. He, they, she, whatever. It. This. Okay, so when I speak about God, I don't see like a person, okay? Something that's akin to a person. I see a quality. If anything, I see a quality of love, a quality of goodness. God good, okay? So if you want to think in these terms, you can say that God was removed from the equation.
Yeah.
During the Holocaust, during the Holocaust of the Jews in the Second World War, and also during this genocide, God is removed from the equation.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the kind of thing that Simone Weil is trying to tell us here. That there are two different forces in the universe. One force is the force of, the physical world, okay? So the physical world has its own rules, with like, and inside this physical world there are consciousnesses, and the consciousnesses need to achieve goals, and therefore they act in a certain way where they will do whatever they need to achieve the goal, and if there is no obstacle, they will continue, and if there is an obstacle, they will be distracted by the obstacle. Okay, this is the way that things act in the material world, in the physical world. But there is another force in the universe, and this other force can be called by many different names, but maybe one of the names that you can call it is God. God, which is not accidentally, it doesn't accidentally sound like good. It comes from this word good, okay? So the force of love, the force of compassion, the force of justice, all kinds of forces that are not necessarily immediately part of the physical realm. Okay, and she's saying that being completely physical, being subjugating your spirit to the physical part of it, which is consciousness and action and physical action, is sacrilege. Because then you are disconnected from the holy, you are disconnected from God, you are disconnected from the good, you are disconnected from love, you are disconnected from compassion, you are disconnected from justice. Okay, and I think she wants to put, a very strong light on this tension between these two forces, and maybe we are going to try to think how to bring more goodness into this physical reality.
Yeah.
Okay, so all kinds of things about God. God is at the center of the equation during this genocide. What do you mean when you say this? No, I don't think it's the real God. I think it's the parody of God. She's saying rape is a caricature of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the God of Zionism is a caricature of the real God. Okay,
Yeah.
This is why we hate it so much.
Yeah.
This is why I always hated religion.
Yeah.
Because I was surrounded by religion, which was a caricature of something, of spirituality, of true spirituality. Also, spirituality is a caricature of spirituality in our society, is a caricature of actual spirituality. And this is why I grew up hating it so much, because it was dishonest, because it was something that was used to justify violence and not to go against violence, to justify injustice and not to support justice.
Yeah. I think at the end, you can take any concept like God, and use it in order to, nobody has control about what people do with ideas and words, right? If someone say, I kill you in the name of this God, he can do it, right? It's
Yes.
nobody can tell him don't do it. If some group of Europeans decided to hijack Judaism for a colonialist, imperialist endeavor, and to convince Jews that they do it in their favors, but actually, and then to take the symbols of Judaism and go and commit a genocide, and they can do it. They did it, but it doesn't mean that this is what Judaism means, and it doesn't mean that this is what God means, and it doesn't mean but I'm thinking about it that she says what God unceasingly begs each man to grant is the very thing which other men despise. So God, can you help me?
Let's continue reading, because I think she explains it. She really explains it.
Okay.
Let's read another.
Yeah,
okay?
I feel I almost get it, but not one.
I think if we continue reading, it will help. Okay, so I think you read this, right? Yeah. Rape is a terrible caricature of love, from which consent is absent. Mm-hmm. After rape, obsession is the second horror of human existence. It is a terrible caricature of obedience. Consent is as essential to obedience as it is to love. Okay, so we were a little bit confused by her use of the term obedience, because we see it as something negative, but maybe this is something that she's trying to deconstruct, to say obedience is not negative, and it's not the opposite of consent.
Yeah.
But this is, let's postpone this and go back to it later. The butchers of the city of Melos, the one described by Thucydides, were pagan in the hateful sense of the word, whereas their fathers had not been so. In a single sentence, they completely and perfectly define the pagan conception. Concerning the gods, we believe that by a necessity of nature, each one always commands wherever he has the power to do so. So what she's saying, I think, is that they took what they knew from themselves and they applied it to the gods.
Like we said about Zionism now.
Yes. But this is humans creating God in their own image, I think.
Yeah. and they use it to give their act of oppression and power more legitimacy.
Yes, yes. And then the next sentence, the Christian faith is nothing but the cry affirming the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
The same is true of the ancient doctrines of China, India, Egypt, and Greece. I don't know about this. I don't know. Like, she was Christian, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree with her about Christianity, but it doesn't.
But in the teaching of Jesus, I think you have a lot of
Yeah.
stuff about compassion.
Yeah, like
about
if you go back to
morality.
the origin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like any religion had prophets that were people of morality. You find it also in the Bible, you know, when Jeremiah says like to the people, you follow the religion, but you do horrible things, and this is not the way of God. I think like it was always there. It's religion is always a mixed bag.
Yes. But let's go to the crux of the if we concentrate too much on like arguing what religion said, it will not end. Okay, so let's just try to see what she says about Christianity, what she believes about, and then we can unravel what she's trying to say about justice. The act of creation is not an act of power. It is an abdication. I checked what abdication was, but I forgot already. So we will check. If someone knows what abdication is, please write it to us. Through this act, a kingdom was established other than the kingdom of God. The reality of this world is constituted by the mechanism of matter. This is what I was referring to earlier. That there is like a tension between matter and things that are, spiritual. Okay. So by the mechanism of matter and the autonomy of rational creatures. So she's saying that rationality is something that is very gashmi. How do you say gashmi in English? Like material.
Material.
That has to do with matter. Rationality is a product of the material mind. Okay. So in some sense, it is contrary to spirituality, to justice, and so forth and so on. It's not. It's irrational to love. It's irrational to pursue justice. It's irrational. Okay. It is a kingdom from which God has withdrawn. God, having renounced being its king, can enter it only as a beggar. Okay. So this is I don't know. It's an ontology that is different from the one that I am used to, but we can look at it as like a metaphor for something, right? So the metaphor is that. So what she's saying is that God created the material world. God is like a metaphor for good, for the holy. Okay, so he created the material world and then he withdrew from it. Why? Because now the material world acts only by concrete, deterministic, specific rules. Now the material world that we are in, it has its own rules, and the rules are, for example, that consciousness has a goal and it works towards the goal, and it only sees obstacles. For example. And now she says God can only enter this material world as a beggar. Because, so now God cannot impose his will on the physical world because God has all the power.
Yeah.
So if God uses his power to impose his will of goodness, on the physical world, then there is no consent, and then it's an internal contradiction. Okay,
so it's a nice theology actually she does here.
Yes,
about like how how God actually, because of his own laws of morality, he cannot interfere in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because of his own character of goodness. Like goodness cannot come to the world. This is something that we experience all the time. Okay. Let's say that you are arguing with a Nazi of any kind. Okay. A Zionist, a Carnist, a
Avre Gilad was here in the room.
Yes. And you're mad at Avri Gilad, right?
Yeah,
Because
he says that it's okay to kill children.
yes, and he supports killing children, and he's part of this machine that's killing a bunch of children.
Yeah.
You're mad at him, and you want him. Well, I don't know what you want. You want him to stop existing.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to change his mind. You want him to shut up.
Yeah,
What
but
do you
we
want?
often talk about the frustration we feel, and we, between us, we said like, I wish I could kill this guy. I don't know if we mean it, but it's something I feel, when I first read this post of Avri Gilad, I was
One second. People are asking for a link to the article. I put it in the chat before, but I will put it again so that people who joined later can still follow along with us. We are at the beginning of page 3 of the article. Here is the link to this is a free copy of the article
I
online.
must say, Alon is very good with philosophical text. Every time we read something, I think, okay, now I understand. You should be a philosophy teacher as well.
I used to be very bad at it as well, but then I took some courses at university, and I put a lot of energy into trying to understand philosophical texts. And I just want to say to you, to everyone, if you put energy into it, you will develop this skill of understanding philosophical texts. It's a lot about understanding context and asking the right questions, and also reading slowly. You need to read very slowly.
Yeah, I think my problem is sometimes that I lack the patience to.
It requires a lot of patience. That's why I don't do it a lot. I haven't read a lot of philosophical articles.
But maybe the thing is not to read a lot, but to gain much from the small
I think
amount.
depth is more important than breadth in some sense. Yeah. But my point is that it's very rewarding. I think that if you develop this skill of going deeply into a philosophical article by someone who knows what they're talking about, not some bullshit, quack.
Yeah.
And if you understand what is being said in a philosophical article, you understand something very, very important. It's a tool that you can use later to analyze reality and to understand reality much more deeply and much more accurately.
And we need it. I think, sometimes I think, why are we now, people are being killed there, people being killed in the West Bank, in Gaza, animals are being slaughtered in masses, and we sit here and read philosophy. But I think, it feels to me always like a privileged people think. But then, I read about, for example, Palestinian prisoners. A lot of time when they're in the jail, that's what they do. They read
philosophy. They read political commentary and so forth.
They read history. Understanding the world is not a privilege. We need to understand and to have strong ethics. We need to have strong right analysis of power. Because otherwise we can get into a situation when we are where we are, let's say, in the weak part in a power situation, and we don't realize, and we come out of the discussion and we don't know why we came out so weak. But if we understand, so it's an important thing. But let's go back.
But I want to say something about what you said. I think, so I want to say the opposite of what I want to say first, okay? So
I need to stretch my back.
Okay, so Elik is doing some meditation exercises. He's here. So unfortunately, people can use knowledge, understanding, philosophy, research, all kinds of academic, intellectual things as tools for supremacy, for violence, for oppression.
Yeah.
For example, Yuval Noah Harari, the guy that we like so much, the history professor, is using his supposed knowledge of history and politics and all kinds of stuff to justify horrible things and to justify the liberal system, the liberal order of things.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when people do something that I used to do, a lot, and maybe I do it still. To use your supposed intellectual superiority to look down on others.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ultimate example is when humans use their supposed intellectual superiority to look down on all other animals and to justify the worst kinds of oppression towards all animals that supposedly lack this intellectual superiority. So I don't like this.
Yeah.
But I also think it's no coincidence that intellectual endeavors are so looked down on in our fascist society.
Right.
In our hyper-capitalist, hyper-patriarchal, hyper-fascist society. Because reading deep texts and using these media of communication that are called philosophical articles or historical research or scientific research, it is an antidote to fascism. It is an antidote to violence. It is an antidote to oppression and to supremacy. And therefore, it's no surprise that those in power want to remove it from our society as much as possible. They want people who cannot read philosophical articles and cannot understand philosophical arguments, because if people have the capacity to understand philosophical arguments and to read philosophical articles, then they might, they could learn something. And if they learn something, then they could, God forbid, be good, or think that the good is possible, or understand the situation that they're in. And this is very dangerous to those in power.
Yeah, and
knowledge, understanding, and depth is something that is very that has revolutionary potential. Okay.
Yeah, it's not by accident that the symbol of like the Nazis burning books, and now Israel bombed a lot of like libraries.
Yes.
And and the Palestinian people are always in a constant struggle to maintain their cultural heritage, because like it's being like fascism in a way is built on erasure of knowledge, of history, of critical thinking, and I also think like when you engage in a text like this, it's always like it takes time, it takes effort, it's not rewarding, it doesn't immediately.
To me, it is.
I think
it is also fun.
It's fun.
It's a different sort of fun than people are used to.
Yeah, but I think like if I text what she says, that like God comes as a beggar, and in a way like there's this way of things that are happening that people just like that the oppressed are transparent to the oppressors, and that God, in order to be present in such a world, it has to be like in a shape of kind of a beggar, or of people who are being ridiculed, and so, and she is kind of also like when she writes this text, like it's kind of like I think she was this kind of character herself, of this kind of a beggar, like people who, it's always people who swim against the stream of this like normalization. And it's not an accident that we find something in this text, like, yes. And we have to read it. Like I think the story of people who always try to go against of this kind of beggars, who kind of try to teach love and compassion in a world of indifference, of people who just act by this automatic way of achieving their immediate pleasure.
Yes.
So I find this act of reading a philosophical text as part of going against this stream. But
yes, I agree completely.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the point that we were in. Yeah. So let's assume that we are having a discussion with Avri Gilad and we're trying to convince Avri Gilad to give a shit about Palestinians.
Yeah.
Okay? And we encounter a lot of resistance, right?
Yeah.
He will not want to do it.
No.
And to be honest, I don't think he will ever do it. I think Avri Gilad will die before he gives a shit about Palestinians or anyone not named Avri Gilad. And the question is, what do you do? What do you do? Because while Avri Gilad is writing his stupid bullshit on Facebook, people are being massacred en masse.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it the moral thing to do to kill Nazis? Is it moral to kill Nazis? Is it moral to kill Nazis? I don't know. I don't know. This is a question that no one really knows the answer to. Okay? If someone is a killer, if someone is proud of their killing, if someone is saying, I will continue to kill and I don't care, and they have the power to kill, or to oppress, or to be violent, or to rape, or I don't know what, and they are proud of what they're doing and they will not stop, and they assure you that they will not stop, what do you do? What do you do? And this, so you don't have to go very far. People tell me that by the very fact that I talk to them about these things, that I'm being violent or aggressive or whatever. And if you know, we are at dinner with our family, okay? It's not okay. Like for me, it's not okay now to say the word Gaza.
Yeah.
It's not okay, because then I'm creating problems.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting the argument again.
Yeah, and you become the problematic one.
Yes, and I become the problematic one. Is it okay that should I forcefully mention Gaza? Should I forcefully? Should I force them to think about this? Should I force them to talk about this? Is it violent? Is it aggressive? I don't know. But if you look at it in a very abstract way, then there's definitely an inherent contradiction in trying to force people to get consent. Okay, obviously. But we find ourselves in this situation all the time because we are surrounded by people who don't want to get consent and don't need to get consent for what they're doing, and therefore are being violent and oppressive all the time. So what do we do? This is, I think, one of the core questions of revolution, like how to bring a revolution. This is one of the and it manifests itself like is armed resistance to oppression something that is justified, right? Justified. They always talk about justification and condemnation.
Yeah, I also struggle with it when I think about that. That I know, for example, that Hamas is very hierarchical and very oppressive towards its own people.
Yes.
And they torture, and they have torture dungeons. They kill people. So, but I do think that. But I do see the necessity of armed resistance. But you know, what's the limits of I don't know if it has to do with what we talk about, but. It does. I'm a bit tired, actually. I think my mind goes many directions. But
okay, so do you want to continue, or maybe we continue later this week?
But I think I just wanted to the point that about the point of the beggar, you know, and what kind of archetype that I connect to, because I do think that in a way you cannot force justice. That's the thing. Like, and I think like. It puts us sometimes in a situation that it's hard, you know, so what can we do? Can we just talk about it? That's all we can do. But, you know, but sometimes I think, okay, if I could kill Bibi Netanyahu or kill somebody...
if you could, it's a hypothetical.
If I could, would it be helpful to do it? Would it change anything? Could I beat Avri Gilad to a point that
in Minecraft? If you could kill Bibi Netanyahu's avatar in Minecraft. Okay.
Would it help? I don't know. Would it help to beat?
I don't think. Like people fantasize about going back in time and killing Hitler.
Yeah.
Guys, it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
Hitler was a symptom. He wasn't the cause of what happened. He's a system. He's a symptom. He's a symptom of the system. The system is constructed in a way that it raises the crazy ones. If Bibi Netanyahu has a stroke and dies, someone else will replace him. Someone maybe worse will replace him.
That's why I think, yeah, it's all purely theoretical. You're gonna get in trouble, people say.
Yeah.
I don't think people follow to what we say in details, but I said I don't want to kill Bibi. Okay, I have no desire to do it, and I'm not going to do it. So, because I don't feel it's helpful, I do. But I'm thinking there's a thing that we it's part of the frustrating thing that we need to talk to people I don't know, I'm kind of losing it. I think like the thing is that if we are into consent, and consent is the important thing, our ability to create good with violence is limited, because violence is not about consent, even towards people who are violent. I think this is the point that I wanted to, and I'm not saying Zionism, and it's kind of stands with my belief, in contradiction to the belief that Zionism is not going to be stopped by convincing Zionists, you know, like we.
Yes, this is the thing that you kind of go like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And my fantasy, maybe it's a complete fantasy. My fantasy is that the more we are connected with our own, let's call it godliness in the context of this discussion, with our own morality, with our own sense of justice, with our own aspiration to love and to justice. Okay, so my fantasy is that this creates a kind of aura, a kind of light that we project. Okay, and I want to believe that this light that we can project, the more we are connected to our own godliness, is something that is contagious. Okay, is something that people look at, and even if they don't admit it, they admire it. And they are attracted to it, and they appreciate it, and they want to join it.
Yeah, I feel it when I'm doing my music, that even people who reject the ideas, they kind of drawn to something that I do. I don't feel it when I have it when I speak necessarily, but when I play, like when we did this concert, you know, and in the Cafe Shapira, and people, I felt like we were doing something.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
It was connected to this godliness energy of like bringing, you know, speaking. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I should do that more, huh?
So, I'm thinking that maybe a temporary conclusion that we can provisional conclusion that we can have here.
Yeah,
is that because we recognize this inherent tension between between aspiring for good and action, okay, and consent, all these things these internal contradictions, okay, that we need. So whenever I'm confused, I find myself giving myself the answer of doubling down. Okay? If I'm confused, I'm like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? The answer that I feel most comfortable with is doubling down on my own honesty and connection with who I really am, and connection with my, loving side, with what's deep inside me, that is love, that is justice, that is, and I'm like, oh, so let's do it more. Let's be more honest. Let's be more open. Let's be more vulnerable. Let's be more loving. Let's be more all of this.
Yeah, because this is what we have to offer also.
Yes.
And I feel sometimes it means being honest about your confusion or not knowing exactly what is the right thing to do. It's also to be open about that.
Yes. You want to wrap things up? We've been going on for 2 hours and 15 minutes at this point.
But I think we did some quite a journey, right? From
Yes.
reading this nasty post, which
Yes.
is like kind of concentration of everything that is disgusting.
Yes.
And how do we confront that? We kind of what did answers did Simone Weil gave us to confront Avri Gilad and the spirit of this, you know, that we live in society that actually main big, you know, people kind of give license to people to continue to refer to people as something that you obstacles you can erase, you know. So I think, and what you said now, I feel it was a good answer to how to use the words of Simone Weil to connect.
And this is only 2.5 pages out of 10.
Yeah,
Only 25%.
but we use it to connect this to our deep truth that want us to align with our love of justice, with our love of creating a world that more and more beings, which we're basically, I believe, we're the same. That in our essence we're the same.
Yes, we're all made of the same stuff.
Yeah, and we want to be seen. We want to people to feel that we're seen by others, right? And that we are
Yes.
seeing them, and that our needs are being met. To all, how do we create a world that we maximize this? That we have
Yes, that allows this, that enables this, that that you know promotes this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to finish up here? What do you say?
I think we can finish up soon. We wanted to start. We started from a place that we had a lot of difficulty, and I have personal, like, I don't know how I'm going to. What is the next direction in my life? How do I live a life that is aligned with my values of that we're talking about, and make a living, and and to shine my, like, every time, for example, when I do a concert, I feel like, wow, it's a point of light that I suddenly then I go back to my, and to this, I don't know how to call it, this
the
inertia.
This situation where you're like, you have no energy.
Yeah.
You have no optimism.
Yeah.
Everything looks like shit around you.
Yeah.
Basically, it happens every time I go on Facebook and I see people. If you go on Facebook and you read what people write in Hebrew, fuck, it's horrible. It's horrible. Not that other languages are much better, okay? But in Hebrew, it's like peak insanity, peak disgusting, okay?
Yeah.
And I find myself looking around and I'm like, fuck. It's so far away from the thing that I'm imagining. It's so far away from what I want for myself and everyone else. And it kind of it's disheartening, and I find myself exhausted and tired, and I don't know. So we need to find these situations where we can get more energy, and I think that this kind of discussion is one of those situations.
Yes.
Okay. This is your channel, Elik. Close up.
So we're closing up, guys. Thank you for being here. Let's see. I don't know. So maybe next time we will do something. Loving that is the answer. Yeah, Tamar, for sure. But not in a just shallow hippie way, but in a way of love of people who struggling for justice.
Yes.
And read the Rosa Luxemburg. Yeah, I want to go to Rosa. We should look.
We should continue this process. Look at all kinds of thinkers and writers and political activists.
Again, you can write to us. You can approach us. Give us ideas for people in the past or the present who write interesting stuff. Yeah, and do your own shit. Speak about justice. Open your own channels. Like keep the conversation going
Yes.
until our words materials and create a better world. Yeah, okay. I think I will say bye for now. I'm a bit tired. We were talking for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah, but you're welcome to approach me also. I write my email here and I will also you're welcome to approach me on Instagram. And if I don't answer, I will answer eventually. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's my email.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Elik.
Thank you, Alon. You always help me understand things in a deeper level.
The feeling is completely mutual.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.